Hey guys, I wanted to give you my take on this base because there's a lot more to the base that Dart didn't talk about. It's a very well designed base. It can be 3-star with surgical hogs, and that's just no matter what you do, no matter what base you make. At Town Hall 9, a determined good Town Hall 9 with appropriate troops and heroes can 3-star it. It's a fact of life that's been proven time and time again. There's a lot that you can do to make it so that it's very difficult to be 3-star though, and only the best will 3-star it if you design it correctly, or they have better troops than your defensive level or better heroes than your defensive level. That is another situation where troops can make up for lack of skill. So, this is an anti-Golaloon base, kind of like Dar was talking about and he showed in his videos, and it has lots of anti-Golaloon features. But there's a lot more to it than that, like how he was talking about with the hogs. Typically, when you're designing bases these days, the anti-3-star bases, you're designing them to stop Golaloon and you're designing them to stop the hog variations because those are the most popular 3-star attacks. And the hog variations are like Goho, Surgical, and traditional hogging. I also use a little bit of Ho-He, but that hasn't come into play yet. Really, no one else does that, and I'm still working on it, so to speak. So, first off, this is, before I start ragging on Dart, this is clearly his trial version, his first variation. I noticed that in the video he moved his double giant bombs, which was really wise, because clearly this direction is where almost all attackers are going to be coming from, which was obvious in the video to get to the queen because people tend to go to the nearest side to the queen. I personally would come from up here, but that's not so obvious and not very many people do it that way. So anyhow, you never put double giant bombs in front of the queen in the direction you suspect players are coming because they're going to get negated, they're going to get tripped by golems, and they're useless. If I was scouting this base, I would expect doubles to be there and there. And I would expect that because this position has more to it than this position does. This position is bigger and it has, you can set the giant bombs a little bit further back and protect them a little bit easier. And that's why I would suspect it. So the other thing, I'm just going to go from thing to thing that I see. He does a really good job with his storages, and this should be a standard design feature. You have a lot of high hit point buildings, especially the Town Hall and the Dark Elixir storage. And then also just the generic gold and elixir storages are very high hit point. You use those as shields to slow down the king, the queen, and wizards, and create separation between them and the golems, just like how Dart did. He's got them all loaded up in his base, and he does a really good job with them. Like he pointed out, it's worth mentioning it again, on the queen side, where people are most likely going to be punching in, you load it up with storages. That's just whether you're doing Goho, whether you're doing Golaloon, pretty much everything revolves around killing the queen, so it's all going to come into effect because the only way that anyone has ever figured out to kill the queen that's deep in the base is to send in golems with the royals. A more effective method has not been created to this date, and that's how you stop that method, so to speak. Well, not stop it, how you make it difficult. And I actually really like how he puts 4 loons in the clan castle. Everyone's moving to no lure these days, so 4 loons in the clan castle is pretty freaking sweet. I'm liking that. I've seen that before, but I haven't seen it actually work effectively. So that was cool. I like that. In his video, he also says that wizard towers are the best defense in the game. He says if a wizard tower is hitting 10 hogs, it's doing 400 DPS. While that is true, it's also very misleading. Wizard towers, they're not the best. They're not at all. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be doing 400 DPS spread out over 10 hogs, but it's not going to kill any of the hogs. And then they're going to get healed up, they're going to be full health, and it will have done nothing. It's effectively doing 0 DPS to those hogs. Unless the player's out of heals, didn't manage his heals very well, and then that's his own dumb fault. That's a lack of skill. Wizard towers are good for killing loons, but the thing is how these wizard towers are positioned in the core loons are going to get into the core and kill them. You ideally want wizard towers kind of around out by the outside, because what will happen is loons will end up going to the wizard tower or an archer tower or a mortar or something last, and the wizard tower will have a lot of time to smack on these weakened loons, and there's a good chance of it killing all of them. It happens a lot. Clifford from Hebrew Legends, also the same clan. Well, Dart bounces around between clans, but when Dart was in Hebrew Legends, Clifford was talking about it, how he never allows his loons to end up on a wizard tower because they'll all get taken out, and that one little detail will cost him the 3-star. So, I mean, I can see Dart's perspective of why he thinks wizard towers are the bomb, but they're not. I do agree with him that wizard tower expos are being very improperly used. They're not a good core defense. Their value is kind of really in protecting the queen. They have a very significant amount of hit points compared to other defenses, which makes them great for slowing down hogs, great for slowing down the queen, great for slowing down the king. So you put them in the point defense, and what it'll do is it'll drastically slow down surgical hogs. It'll mean you'll have to send 5 surgical hogs, 5 hogs to the expo, and you'll have to not use them somewhere else. If the expos are in the core, all the hogs will gang up on the expo and melt through it really quickly. But if the expo's out here, 5 hogs have to go here, and that means they're not going to be going to another defense. Numbers in hogs in surgical hogging are very important, and if you have to put extra 2 hogs on one of these defenses, that means there's 2 hogs that aren't going down on one of the defenses around the base. There's very rarely extra hogs in a surgical hog. So that's my thoughts on the expo. Let me try and watch my time here. And mortars don't really have much value against surgical hogs and Golaloon and all these typical strategies. So what I like to do is kind of like how he's done them. I like to put them out in the perimeter defenses, and then I'll stagger my other defenses behind them, like a little ways away from the wall, so that hogs and loons are going to go to the mortars first, which is a wasted defense. It doesn't really have any value against hogs and loons. And by setting the point defenses back from the wall and putting the mortars, wizard towers, and Teslas and other things like that, not Teslas, forget I said Teslas, the mortars and expos and wizard towers kind of at the edge of the perimeter, it's making it so that those archer towers aren't going to lock onto giants, which is common for surgical hogs. People like to send in a giant to tank. Those archer towers and point defenses that actually kill the hogs are going to be hitting the hogs rather than the giant, because the giant's going to get stopped by the wall kind of a little ways out of range. It makes it harder to time for the attacker. So that's why I do that. This base is a surgical hogging base because you can send in, I would say, either 3 or 4 golems, depending on your hero level, right into here. Jump spell right into there. You'll get the queen. You'll get the clan castle. They're relatively lined up. You're going to get 4 point defenses pretty easily, and you're going to provide a pretty decent amount of tanking value for these core defenses that are a problem for surgical hogs, because normally they're killing the hogs while they're out there on the perimeter. All of these valuable point defense or core defenses will be hitting the golems that are in here. And everything's in a nice, perfect line. Right up, butted up against the edge of the wall. So I mean, it's like 3, 3, or actually 2 on a mortar. 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 3. It's just it's laid out to be surgical hog. And I'm sure he'll figure that out once he plays. Once Hebrew Legends gets stacked up against a good clan, they'll get nailed by that. And the reason why I would come in from this direction is because I would recognize that there's only 2 storages here, and there's something like 4 or 5 down here. And I would take the path of least resistance. I might even be able to do a 2 hogs with my level 30 heroes as a Town Hall 9, with Town Hall 9 troops, back when I was a Town Hall 9. So, what's next on the agenda? External Teslas. As soon as someone attacks this base, the very next guy is going to drop 2 loons right here, 2 loons right there, and they're just going to freaking loon the snot out of this. And for 8 loons, they're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 That's such an efficient trade. Oh my gosh. That really hurts. These are very valuable defenses right here, these two Teslas and cannons. So external Teslas, I can see how they're nice for the first attack, and they work pretty well. They redirect the golems. It's obvious someone's going to attack on this side. But don't lose sight of Holo. It's something that gets forgotten these days, and it's still a very powerful strategy. If you're going to offer up defenses like this for free that someone is going to know about on the second attack, a good attacker is going to just rape them. They're going to get the clan castle pull that way. They're going to do a traditional Holo. Okay, they're not going to do a traditional Holo because Queen's so deep. They're going to have to learn these defenses, do the clan castle kill over here, send in the golem, and jump into here. Actually, yeah, that would be a traditional Holo. You wouldn't need more than one golem because all the defenses are taken out. So, kitties. I guess this base can be Holoed too. Didn't even kind of realize it until I looked at all his the distance between his air defenses and his point defenses. Okay, next topic. Dart mentioned it. Spam Laloon, where you bunch up all your hounds and you don't do circular deployment. It's just a bad idea against a good defender. Jason's kind of already said it. It works against level 6 air defenses. I think spam Quad Laloon is a good idea for the early Town Hall 9s, but as a serious attack strategy, I don't see the potential for it. And if you'll notice as well, these air defenses that are opposite the Queen, they're unlikely to get attacked because attackers are normally going to come this way. If stuff gets killed over here, the Seeker Mines are pretty much wasted. These Seeker Mines that are over by these air defenses are going to take out a hound each. You're down 2 hounds right there. So, yeah. It's just, I don't know. Spam Laloon doesn't have its place on good Town Hall 9, Town Hall 10 bases. Except for maybe as a 2-star strategy. Oh, fun topic, the trash ring. Kelsey, I'm not sure what her actual name is. I've been calling her Kelso, sorry if that's not correct. Was asking about the trash ring and copying it exactly. Trash rings are very interesting. The side where the player is going to get to the Queen, you want to pack that tight with buildings. So that way they have to send in more wizards. You can stack builders have stack here. There's a possible chance of King being redirected. You want to make it hard for them to funnel by just loading the thing up with buildings tight against the wall that they can't pick off. You don't put any army camps anywhere near. This army camp should be way on the whole other side of the map. You don't put any army camps anywhere near where the Queen is going to get attacked. And that is because army camps are easy to destroy, take up a lot of space, and they're great for creating a funnel. If I want to create a funnel that sends my troops right here, all I have to do is kill that army camp. Whereas over here on this side, I have to kill that and that, which means 2 wizards versus 1 wizard. Army camps are great funnel breaks, and you don't put them anywhere near the Queen side. The other method that you don't see very often, and Dart understands this, and really most of the YouTubers actually don't understand this, is the farther you set your trash ring buildings away from the walls, the farther the deployments are for the Laloon and the Loons and the Hounds, and the more separation there is between the Loons and the Hounds. And the harder it is to time, it just adds another layer of difficulty to the attack. So on the Queen side, you put the trash ring buildings up tight against the wall. On the opposite side from the Queen side, you put them spaced out as far as you possibly can, and create as much distance between the defenses and the deployment range. For that reason, that it separates the Loons and the Hounds. And yeah, so what? They can pick off your trash ring, and they can get 50%. That's 50% is not going to win wars. 2 stars aren't going to win wars. Once we get to where we're 3-starring consistently, they are going to be forced to get 3 stars. Otherwise, they will lose. 2 stars will not have it. Spring traps. This is a wasted spring trap. That's a good spring trap. Wasted spring trap. Kind of wasted spring trap. Good spring trap. Spring traps are very, very valuable against hogs. This position right here is a good spring trap position because pretty much no matter where the hogs are going, if it's a traditional hog, they're going to go like this, and they're going to bounce out, and they're going to run over the spring traps. I would put 2 or 3 spring traps here, unless there's more ideal positions for them. In a surgical hog, This is a bad Springtrap because hogs are going to go down on each of those, and they're going to hit them, and they're going to bounce out, and they're never going to go over that Springtrap. In a traditional hog, this is a good Springtrap position because hogs are going to run right over it. There's 6 Springtraps. You can take out 18 hogs at most. That is enough to cripple a raid all by itself. You put your Springtrap positions correctly, it's going to make a big difference in the attack. They are going to have to be so much more perfect. You don't put Springtraps. He did a good job of not putting Springtraps anywhere over here by where they're expected to attack to get to his queen. These gaps, they're not very good for putting Springtraps in them, these 2x2 gaps, because if a hog comes here, they're going to stop on that Springtrap and it's going to work and it's going to flip it. But if a hog attacks this wizard tower and then goes to the air defense, they can outrun the Springtrap. They're going to run over it, it's going to flip, it'll maybe get one hog, but Springtraps are best used where hogs stop, not when they're in motion. This Springtrap, if hogs are coming from this direction, it's going to catch them in motion and it's not going to get as many hogs. Springtraps like this and this that are directly in between defenses, they're going to catch hogs that stop and they're going to get them. Okay, this video has gone pretty long. Secret mines, I really like the red mines, putting them away from the archer towers. From the air defenses. Hounds are unlikely to path over them. So 4 red bombs will take out a pack of loons, mess up the loon deployment for this, and possibly screw up the attack. Just that one little thing, possibly screw up the attack if the attacker doesn't know about it and doesn't know to send in a test. That's a cool touch. Pretty typical anti-hog procedure. See how he has 4 double giant bomb positions around the core like this. That's pretty common these days. A lot of bases are going to that method. It makes the base larger. It makes it kind of harder to stop surgical hogging, but it really makes traditional hogging very difficult. Jake from One Hive is the best traditional hogger I know. He'll skip bases like this. He won't try them because it's too risky. Pretty much, the double giant bombs aren't going to be in this position. They're going to be here and here. And it's too hard to negate both of those. You have to ante up a lot of hogs, and possibly you have to pretty much go-ho it and send in all your golems and your heroes right here. Get the queen, get both of those sets, and then what if the giant bombs are down here and you guessed wrong? Then there's still a chance that in a traditional hogs your hogs are gonna run right into them and all die. This traditional kind of 4 golems or 4 bomb set around the core of the base. It's not very effective against surgical hogging though, because a couple of hogs from this archer tower are going to come in here, trip that bomb, whatever. It's not going to kill them. Same thing over here. Same thing over here. It's just not going to kill hogs because after this first layer of defenses, the heals are going to be dropped into the core, and yeah, your hogs are going to be fine. The other thing, he has an X-bow on ground. That's a big no-no. You don't need the extra range. Put it on air. Not having 75 extra DPS for air attacks with the success of Golaloon, it's kind of foolish. Yeah. Oh, so he's got a little trap here, a golem trap where his king can beat on a golem and beat on wizards and whatever. That's a pretty good use for a king. I've never seen that before. That was kind of cool to see. What I found another good option to do with your king is you put him opposite of the queen, and what he's going to do if he's placed opposite of the queen is he's going to pound on surgical hogs and force a heal. In traditional hogging, he doesn't play much of a role, but specifically in surgical hogging, king placed on the opposite side of the queen is just going to beat on surgical hogs. King is a pretty big menace to surgical hogs. So yeah, I think that's all. I can think of when I was looking at the base. I just wanted to kind of go over some of the principles of this, and also notice how hard it is to get that clan castle pull. You're gonna have to really ante up. You're gonna have to send in like hogs on 3 defenses, or loons on 3 defenses, because otherwise, if you send them on 1 or 2 defenses, they're just gonna go around in a circle and never get in far enough to get the clan castle pull. However, his base is very holoable from this side, so you can get the Cunning Castle pulled that way. Toodles.